Hello everybody and welcome back to Performance on Wheels. In today's video we are going to be selling the 2022 BMW M240i. We have had 1 year of ownership and tomorrow it is getting picked up by its new owner with an MSRP of just under $57,000. This vehicle is selling for what?
Pretty much 55,000.
Pretty much 55,000. So 10,000 miles, 1 year of ownership, and about a $2,000 loss. I think that's kind of a really good deal.
No, you take tax, title, and license into
that stuff. But even then, a 10,000 miles on a depreciating, fun-to-drive M car, M entry-level car, that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah, I did enter this car thinking that I could sell it and didn't know how long the COVID craze car market was going to last. And well, I got this one wrong. I will fully admit that. I thought this car was going to be in more demand than it is, but it is kind of a small marketplace that people are after.
Yeah.
I fully believe, and I will say this, I believe that whoever's watching this video and researching this car 2-3 years down the road, by the time they are watching this video down the road, this car is going to be super hot on the market. That's because this car is, I think, underappreciated and underrepresented for what you get for the value.
I have a very good feeling that it's going to be very similar to the previous gen M240 and the old 440, just the series before the current platforms, which my guess is that it's probably going to be priced in the mid $40,000 range in a few years.
Yeah.
My guess.
Yeah, I mean, the estimation, if you start looking in the true cost to owns, is the first 2 years of ownership, this car is supposed to depreciate between $10,000 and $14,000.
It's quite a bit. That is quite a lot. And then it holds that segment in the 40s range for a little while, like the current M cars, like we got the M3 and the M4 of the early F platform that are kind of in that segment. So this will go into that segment, and then it'll go into way in the future, like the segment of the old like E90 3 Series platform, where we're talking about high teens, low 20s for super clean models.
Yeah, so I've got a few year run going where I'm able to enjoy a car and either break even on it and go on to the next one, or make a little money that pays for some of the other expenses associated with the car. So it's been a fun run. This is the first decision I made in probably 3 years that didn't turn out the way I wanted, but it's still pretty awesome. I found a young man that was, well, he found me. I found him, he found me. And he is in love with this car. I would say he's driven Supras, he's driven a lot of other cars, and it didn't take him more than 15 seconds of sitting in the driver's seat where he knew he had to have it. He didn't even need to drive it far, he just knew this was the car for him. He has done tons of research, and this is the car he wants, and it is an awesome spec for him. I'm very excited for him.
Yeah, this is going to be a great car for the new owner, and I'm going to be sad to see it go, just because it was a fun car to see in the garage. It looks great, but I'm also excited for something to replace it, because I talk to my dad all the time. Obviously, we have conversations, and he, of course, purchased this car initially to be a fun car. He had a work vehicle provided for him, and he'd go drive this on the weekends. But when I was riding with him, I noticed something a little bit different than normal. Opposed to having, you know, the windows down and ripping on it, he'd always have, you know, music playing and driving slower, because it just didn't bring the same excitement that some other vehicles I've seen him behind the wheel of bring him. Not saying it's not a fun car. This car is absolutely fantastic. It's a really great car, but it's a bit more toned down to some of the vehicles that we have experienced. Corvettes, Vipers. We recently drove an R8 when we had this. So we have some experience in some very raw driving cars, and that's just something that we both truly enjoy a bit more. The BMW is a very refined vehicle when it comes to a performance standpoint. So we just like a bit more in-your-face feel, where this was a little bit lackluster for him.
I will fully admit, like, everything you said is 100% accurate, but I don't want to take away from this car's capabilities.
No, I'm not trying to take away that either. The car's really fast, but
it's a freaking rocket ship.
Yeah,
it really is.
It's an absolute rocket ship. I mean, we raced that Audi R8. The video, the short that we have on our channel, the R8 used launch control, but when the R8 does not use launch control, this and the R8 stack up to about 70 miles an hour. So
same experience with the C8 as well. That we had a similar experience on the C8.
Well, this actually took the C8 off the line, but the C8 is also rear-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So that's also not an entirely fair comparison. It just shows actually how hard the C8 launches in rear-wheel drive.
In my opinion, there'd be no reason to not get this car in all-wheel drive.
And I think it's one of the greatest daily drivers ever. If you live in a warmer climate, I would get the rear-wheel drive one just to save the money, because ultimately you don't need the all-wheel drive system, and these make in the power realm where it's safe and fun to have a rear-wheel drive car. Like you're probably not going to send this thing super hard sideways being rear-wheel drive. It's going to catch the rear end pretty quick.
On that short wheelbase though, you could probably get yourself into a pickle in a hurry.
That's true.
It's got to be similar to the Supra. I've never driven a Supra hard enough to validate that, but I know that I can get this thing squirrely with how torquey the inline six is, and then you throw the turbo on there once like the turbo spool's up and the engine's already in its power band, so it's good. Like, yeah, it's really good.
And this engine is pretty much inline six turbo perfection. It is really, really good. This is the
I don't know that it'll ever get better.
No, so this is the B58 platform, which I'm sure the majority of you watching this video know. But the way that this engine originally started is BMW made fantastic, naturally aspirated inline sixes. Then all of a sudden, the new platform of the 3 Series came around, the E90. The E90 was the first inline six that decided, hey, let's add a little bit more power to this thing, and they did a twin turbo setup, which was on the M54. So it made very good power, super tunable engine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the most reliable engine. They then refined it a little bit and toned back some of that tunability with the N55, which is a inline six single twin scroll turbo, which is the exact predecessor to this motor. Now the N55 was much more reliable than the N54, but it didn't make as much power, and it still had a couple of minor issues that, you know, they can be fixed with upgraded parts, but it still was not perfect. Then they came into the B58 here, which I believe was released in what was it, like 2017, 18?
17, 18, somewhere
right in there. Yeah. And this is just inline six perfection. It makes all of the power that N54 could make, which we've experienced with seeing some Supras that have been built, and it's just bulletproof, reliable until you start hitting that 700-800 horsepower mark. So that's how we got to the motor that we're at now.
I will say I'm truly sad to let this car go, and I'm sad to let the car go from the daily driving standpoint, and I will make that point clear. Like, again, this car is phenomenal for that.
It is. As
long as you don't need the back seat, and as long as the trunk space, which I think is very decent.
I think it's actually a pretty good trunk.
Like, I've never been like, holy crap, how am I going to fit this stuff in here? I've always been able to fit what I needed to in the trunk, but as long as that accommodates your needs, like the room and the comfort of the car, it's
and even
awesome.
For a new car, like if you're just wanting a car to go, you know, drive on weekends and even autocross, throw a sticky set of tires on the all-wheel drive one of these things, you would nail an autocross course. Granted, it's probably not going to give you the same sound or intense feeling like a V8 Mustang or a I was going to say Camaro, but they're gone now.
Right.
It gives you in that same price point, but it's a really, really good car when it does come to performance. It's just a little too refined for the vehicles we've experienced, and that's the reason that it is we're saying goodbye to it.
Yeah, and ultimately I was toying in my head back and forth with, am I going to mod this thing? Am I going to make it my own and personalize it? And there's still a chance I would have done that, but the lucky new owner wanted it more than me. So we're going to say goodbye to this M240i for now. We're going to get the next whatever the long-term 1-year tester is. We do a good job of flipping cars over in a year and sharing our experience with you guys. So it is, for now, out with the old. We'll see what is coming up next. Guys, thanks for joining us on the M240i journey. Please hit that subscribe and like button to support this father-son team, and we will see you in the next video.
See you later, guys.